We're going to call this the June meeting of Lenoir County Board of Education to order. We're going to recognize Ms. Frances Herring for the invocation. Can you do it from there?
Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will entertain a motion to go into closed session for the student hearing.
So moved.
Second. Do we need to actually do that formal motion?
Yeah. You better. Yep.
You want to go ahead and read that out?
I move that the Lenoir County Board of Education go into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A1 to prevent disclosure of confidential student records under General Statute 115C-402 and General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Motion's been made to go into closed session, second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor going into closed session, raise your right hand. All right, we're now in closed session. All right, we are now back in open session with our June Lenoir County Board of Education meeting. The next item is the approval of the agenda for this evening. Mr. Williams will present the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agenda is submitted for your consideration and your approval tonight.
Motion to approve the board agenda as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Hill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. Any further discussion on the agenda for this evening? We'll call for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. The agenda is approved. Next item is the board chair comments. I want to start off with giving our sympathies to Mr. Davis. His grandmother has passed away, and he had a visitation that he had to attend tonight. He was here for a student hearing a few minutes ago, but we wish him well in this time for him, but he will not be at our meeting tonight. I'd also like to say, now that this is the June meeting, we've got graduations coming up next weekend. I know I'm certainly looking forward to that. I've had the pleasure to attend a number of awards days at most of the schools so far. We have, in my opinion, an outstanding class of seniors this year. They've done some incredible things. The awards, you know, they're going to the best and brightest colleges in not just in North Carolina, but around the country. So I just want to say how proud we are of our graduating class, all their accomplishments. Also, I'm going to turn it over just for a second to Mr. King. I know he's got his own graduate. You want to
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
say a word?
I was going to do some notes, but I didn't, so it's going to be short. I just want to say thank you to Lenoir County Public Schools. My son, and I will say my family as well, we've had a wonderful 13 years, and yes, that includes kindergarten. He didn't get held back a grade, it was kindergarten. But a wonderful 13 years as a Kinston High graduate, now living a little bit south of LaGrange. I wasn't sure about the North Lenoir track. Never been on that track, didn't know much about it, other than my wife graduated from North Lenoir. But I will say that our experience with LaGrange Elementary, Frank Middle, and North Lenoir High School were absolutely wonderful. Everyone couldn't have been nicer. My son has achieved a wonderful education. He is well prepared, for those of you that care, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and he's ready to go. And I do say thank you, not on just his behalf, but my family's behalf. And as far as the other schools, we have a county full of wonderful schools. I've enjoyed visiting all of them. that I've been able to through athletics, through extracurriculars, through awards days, and other things, graduations. We have not just wonderful educators, but we have great administration. We have great personnel from top to bottom, from side to side. So once again, from my family to yours, thank you, Lenoir County Public Schools.
Thank you, Mr. King. And we will turn it over to Mr. Williams for the superintendent's announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Sargent. For 2015-16, Lenoir County Early College has posted a 100% graduation rate. For the second straight year, we're very proud of them. 34 students received their high school diplomas, and 28 of those received two-year degrees at the same time from Lenoir Community College. So congratulations to them. They had a wonderful graduation a few days ago. Very proud of them and Mr. Harvey and all that they've done at our early college. The director, William Hussey, from the Exceptional Children's Department at the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, has notified our school system that our LEA had a compliance rate of 100% during a recent audit and met the federal target for both Indicator 11 and Indicator 12 data submission for 2014-2015. Our staff was commended for ensuring that the referrals received were processed in a timely manner and that each child referred from Part C and eligible services Part B had an IEP developed and implemented by his or her third birthday. So congratulations to Mrs. Vivian Roach and the EC team for this, these outstanding findings and commendations from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. As the school year comes to a close, I do want to thank our teachers, other staff members, and especially our students for all of their hard work. We are heading into the final week. We've just completed end of grade testing and we're heading into end of course testing now. I want to send forth a special note of appreciation to all of the community volunteers who helped proctor in those classrooms, and I won't say that's the most exciting few hours they've ever spent, but we do appreciate all that they do to support our children and our schools every day. So thank you to the community. This is our last week of school with our students. We have many activities this week, including additional awards day programs, 5th grade promotion programs, 8th grade promotion exercises, and of course, graduation programs at our 4 of our 5 high schools. Of course, early college already has graduated. Lenoir County Learning Academy will graduate Friday, and our 3 traditional high schools on Saturday. So congratulations to all of them for a great year, their hard work, and I hope that our students and staff members will have a safe rest of the close of the school year and a great summer. I want to provide a couple of updates at the request of the board on the legislative progress in Raleigh. House Bill 1080, the Achievement School District Bill, passed the House Thursday by a vote of 60 to 49. There was a good deal of debate on the floor about the wisdom of transferring some of the lowest performing schools in our state to for-profit charter operators. The Achievement School District Bill will now move to the Senate. House Bill 539 is still out there in various committees. Known by many as the Charter School Funding Bill, and advocates for charter schools are lobbying lawmakers to pass this, and it would force school districts to share program-specific funding with charter schools. Also, the House, as you know, approved their budget. The Senate budget now has been approved as of Friday morning. And like the House's budget, Senate budget increases K-12 education spending above what had been budgeted for 16-17. The Senate's K-12 spending expansion is 1.2, which is smaller than that proposed by the House. The Senate does propose a larger teacher pay package with teachers receiving salary increases ranging or averaging 6.2 compared to 4.1 average increase in the House budget. The Senate budget also restores the yearly step increases that many of us are used to throughout our careers to the teacher salary schedule. Increases in bonuses for principals, $500 bonuses for, $2,000 for principals, $500 for assistant principals. Non-certified personnel, $15 million is budgeted for increases and bonuses based upon local policies. No across-the-board increases. That's key there. The major K-12 policy provision in the budget is a dramatic expansion of the Opportunity Scholarship Voucher Program. The spending for this would double for 2016-17. A reserve fund would be created to forward fund the program. Language would be put into the statute to create an automatic $10 million increase in appropriations each fiscal year to be directed to the reserve fund over the next decade, topping out at $134.8 million in 27-28. So this concludes my legislative update.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. I do want to thank you for bringing forward that legislative update. There are a lot of bills pending right now, especially the Achievement School District bill that you need to be aware of. You need to look into that, as well as House Bill 539 regarding funding for charter schools. There's some fundamental unfairness to the public school system in these bills. They're currently being debated in the legislature, and it's a lot of concern for public education. If you support public education, you need to talk to your representatives about these bills that they're working on, because they pose some major changes for the way public education operates in the state of North Carolina, and they are currently being debated. In addition to expanding the voucher program, which is a big part of the Senate budget. It's not part of the House budget, but they really want to expand the voucher program substantially as part of the Senate budget.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
I'll open it up if anybody else has a comment on that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want the public to understand a couple of things about these bills that are being proposed. House Bill 1080, taking over low-performing schools. Other than it being a major problem, period, the other problem is they want to take over the low-performing schools, but they want us to continue to pay for the maintenance. They want us to continue to provide transportation, and I believe lunches as well. So they want to take over the schools, but they want us to maintain everything, and I don't think that's fair. And I think that the public needs to understand all of that that's going on with those bills, and I would encourage you to go online and read up on this House bill. And House Bill 539, I think another major concern on that one is the federal grants, and I believe if I interpreted it right, that the charter schools will be entitled to part of the grants, federal grants that we write. Is that correct? Whereas they have the opportunity themselves to write their own grants.
Fundraising money
And raising money. So they want to give the money that we provide, pay the resources to write the grants and get the grants, but yet they want to give part of that money to the charter schools, and they have the same opportunity to write their own grants. And I don't think that's fair either. I think I saw the E-rate reimbursement. They also be allowed to get some of our E-rate reimbursement as well. All that's unfair. I mean, you know, people in the public, we just need to contact the legislators and let them know how we feel about, and you know, I haven't been shy about saying what they're trying to do with public education. And I believe it's an agenda, and I'm gonna keep saying it until it's not. But I believe it's an agenda to degrade public education, and that's what they're working on. And so I just encourage everybody to read up on this and make sure you go to the polls.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of reiterate on what Mr. Smith has said. If you believe in supporting public education, you need to contact your local legislature. Every time I go to a meeting, I hear one thing, that the people who are against public education, they spend the most money and speak the loudest. They never hear from the local, well, they hear from the local educators, but they never hear from the local constituents. So, and I see most of the people sitting in this audit tonight have got some affiliation with school, but the parents and the community needs to know that in order for them to be effective, for us to be effective, and to get the point across to our legislators that we believe in public education, we support it, they've got to hear from you. Now, If I went on the board, I certainly wouldn't know as much about what's going on as I do. So if you don't know anything, I would recommend, maybe you've read a little bit in the paper and seen on the news, but if you'd like to try to make a difference in this community and the education for your child, then I would recommend that you either contact central office. I'm sure Mr. Williams would be more than glad to give you information on that. Contact the North Carolina School Boards Association and make an effort to contact your local legislatures and let them know how you feel about public education. Let them know how you feel about some of the things they're doing, because if they keep on continuing doing what they're doing, like Mr. Smith says, I've said this before, eventually you will see there will be no public education. This is an attempt to erode public education, to do away with it. They want it to be private for us to pay, for everybody to have to pay for it. So if you believe in public education, support it, you need to make a concerted effort to talk to your legislators and impress upon them, how much they need to support public education. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hill. Anyone else? So if you're playing along at home, that's House Bill 1080 and House Bill 539. And the voucher program is just being expanded through the Senate budget. So take a look at those, read up, it's worth your time. We will move on to the public comment section. And we do have two people signed up. The first is Michael Tarrant, who's going to speak. Is Michael here? Michael, please come forward to the microphone. Michael, just as you come up, we're glad to have you with us. The public comment section is 3 minutes.
Yep.
Ms. Waller will keep the time for you for 3 minutes, and you are prohibited from bringing up a specific student or a specific employee of the school system. It's for policy reflection at this point.
Understand. Thank you
So
for
we'll turn it over
having
to
me.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I am the Director of Sales for Suddenlink Business Services, and I wanted to talk about we responded to a 470 form for the wide area network for the Lenoir County Public School System. This was for wide area network connectivity to all the schools, also PRI connectivity and phones as well. Suddenlink was the lowest bidder in this 470, posted back in January 13th. And our bid over 3 years was $1,080,000. Broadplex, who's a small operator out of western North Carolina, they were second place in the bidding process. And then the most expensive provider was CenturyLink, and they were at $1.2 million, $1,251,000 over 3 years. So the Suddenlink bid was $171,900 less expensive. That's $57,300 per year. Despite the vast difference in the cost, and despite CenturyLink being non-responsive in a one-page bid proposal, despite having the second bidder being even higher or lower than CenturyLink's, and despite Suddenlink's superior offering of offering up to 40 gigabits per second at the aggregation site, the award went to CenturyLink. On April 7th, Suddenlink requested justification. On May 5th, the only justification that we received was a inconclusive, very subjective form that showed us, despite having the best pricing, had other components such as technical capability, lack of experience with Lenoir County schools, and prior experience working with the vendor. A number of years ago, Suddenlink did provide the wide area network for Lenoir County schools. So we were rated at the same level as Broadplex, who's never provided any service whatsoever to the school system. It was a free wide area network at that time, and at one point we did eventually start charging for it, but we did have good relations and good experience at that time. The personal qualifications, we were given 5 less points than CenturyLink because of prior experience. CenturyLink made 0 representations on their bid whatsoever. They did not show how they were going to support this. They didn't show technical capabilities. It was a very basic bid.
Mr. Sharon, you're
Yes.
over 3 minutes. If you can wind up.
Okay, if you
Is
just
it
want
up?
to
It
take a
is.
few seconds and wrap up for us. Yeah,
Okay. And hi.
it goes fast.
It does. So the bottom line is, we were given an explanation that there was going to have to be a lot of infrastructure change in order to get this to work properly with our service. And the fact of the matter is, we were never communicated back with. We could have changed the 40 gig connection by just peeling off a 10 gig port, and then there would have been room for expansion. So there should not have been any expansive costs to upgrade to this network.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Next person who signed up is Lou Jones regarding student discipline. Ms. Jones.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wish I could say as Mr. King that I'm excited about the Lenoir County school system, but I've come back to say I'm very disappointed overall in the discipline policies and procedures. There is no consistency among schools or students. Out of the 2,500 students suspended last year, 2,000 were African Americans. Who is without sin? Cast the first stone. If we say that we have no sin, we lie and deceive ourselves. Thank God there's a higher judge. More oversight is needed. Instead of waiting until the report card comes out the next year, every school should be accountable, and a monthly report should be required. That report should include the number of students suspended, the race of the student, and the offense. We don't need to wait until a year has passed, because then we can see the inconsistencies of what is going on in our system. Instead of working with children, many people should be working with chickens at Sanderson Farms. If you kill a chicken, it won't have a lasting effect. He'll just be dead. But if you kill a child's spirit or wound his self-esteem, it will last for a lifetime. When you think back on your own life and what you did as a college student or a high school student, I'm sure if you had some of these administrators, you wouldn't be sitting here today. The Bible says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And we must all stand before the judgment seat of Christ and give an account of what we've done. It says if we actually offend one of God's little ones, it doesn't matter whether he's 6 or 18. It would be better for a millstone to be placed around your neck. The blood of these children are on your hands. As a matter of fact, when I think about the gangs and the street activities, where are they going when you put them out? You don't make provisions for them. You don't even allow them to participate in anything in the school at all. When it's a long-term, no, you can't even come on campus. You can't participate, nor can you even watch your classmates. What kind of message is that for children? I'm very disappointed, but I do know that God is the final judge. He is the higher authority. And every one of us, you and every one of us in this room, is accountable for these children. We can't wash our hands and just say, oh well, let me go home and go to sleep tonight. You need to think about, what if it were your child? What if it was your grandchild? It may be your great-grandchild. We don't know what it will be, but we do know that we have to do something about this inequity and the inconsistencies that have gone on in this school system. It's just really, it just hurts my heart. I'm a retired teacher myself. And I think that what has happened in this system is just unconscionable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. We're going to move to the presentation portion of our agenda, the instructional services update. Ms. Dunn.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to provide you with a very quick update on our Focus Finish project and where we are with the work on our curriculum guides.
Let's give this just a second because I think it's still coming on. I'm sorry about that. We should be looking at it.
Right.
Ordering right there. Oops. Is the PowerPoint that you've got now?
Mhm.
Okay, it crashes sometimes.
Mhm.
Don't slow down. It should come right back.
Okay.
It should work this time.
I'm about to get angry with Kim. All righty. Okay, thank you, Kim. Wait a minute, it's not done. Okay, all right. At our last board meeting, I presented what we called our Focus Finish implementation guides. And as a quick review, the Focus Finish instructional guides were intended to focus on priority standards during the last 6 weeks before the end of grade test and end of course test. Our intentions were to create an instructional pacing guide for grades 3 through 12 in all tested subjects in an attempt to have a strong finish leading up to the test, and also to increase our students' opportunity to maximize their growth on the EOG test. And also, as just a quick review, when we talked about the priority standards, this is one of the slides that I shared with you to demonstrate what we meant by that. As you can see, each subject has different domains, and those domains carry different weights in each of the grade levels. And based on the weight, you have that number of questions. So our goal was to provide our teachers with a review guide that would allow our children the opportunity to score as high as they could on those priority standards. Well, we started the implementation of the Focus Finish guides April 18th, and we continued right on through, I think, around May 20th, I think, May 16th or so. And in that process, Mr. Williams, he's always saying, it's not what I think, not what I feel, not what I believe. It's what I want you to be able to tell me that you know based on data. So in that process, the instructional effectiveness team knew we had to come up with a way to monitor what the Focus Finish implementation was looking like. So what we did, we decided that we would complete 20-minute classroom observations here at the district level with the instructional effectiveness team, and we would also ask the administrators in the buildings to also complete 20-minute observations. Now, okay, we do the observations, so now what? How do we document what we're seeing? And the instructional effectiveness team came up with a form called the Focus Finished Implementation Form. It was an electronic form with the components of the Focus Finish guides on the form, and these components were the look-fors. These were the things that we considered to be observable to the person who happened to be in the classroom observing the lesson. Also, the components of the Focus Finish guides were things that we listed on the guides for the teachers to implement in the classroom. So the majority of the information on that form came from that form, the Focus Finish guides. And in addition, we did add one or two other things that were not on the form, and that was about student engagement. Another important component about this form is that it gave us real-time data. So whoever was in the classroom doing the observation, as soon as they completed that form and clicked submit, we could see who did it, the time they did it, how long they remained in the classroom, what subject they were observing, everything that was on our list. This electronic form was able to tabulate that data for us into a table of graphs and a chart. And so real quickly, I would just like to just show you what that form looks like. Okay, this is the form that the principals as well as the instructional effectiveness team here at Central Office completed. We didn't want it to be too comprehensive for the principals. It's just something real quick to see what we were doing. We knew that we didn't have a lot of time to implement and make adjustments, but we did want to see what it looked like. So as you can see, it's very, very simple. A drop-down box where you could choose the school, select the school that you were visiting, and then here, the subject and grade. Is this class being taught by a substitute? The date that the focus finish lesson is being covered. That was one of the important things. We wanted to make sure that our classroom teachers were on target or as close to target as they could be on the focus finish lessons. We didn't want them to be 2 weeks behind, so that's why that question is there. And as you can see, there's some other questions that we felt were important based on what we required in the guides themselves. And once you click submit, your responses would be submitted. Okay. Now I just want to show you real quickly what type of data we get from these responses. Okay, here you can see, very quickly, you can see all of the people who actually responded by individual and the summary of it. We can also see the questions that were answered. And then we could show you what some of our responses look like. Here they are, okay, I lost them. Okay, here you can see very quickly the schools, and they're represented by colors. All the schools that were visited. You can see all of the subjects and grade levels that were visited, all the subjects that were observed. And we can see that we did not have a lot of substitutes, which is really, really good. We have teachers who were in classes. That was important for us to know. This tells us if the focus finish lessons that were being observed were on target, if they were on the correct priority standards. So this is all the information that was tabulated in real time as the observation was completed. In addition to the graph format, we also were able to see this information in an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, now that you've seen what the form looked like, your question is probably, okay, so now what? What did you do with the data? Okay, well, as I stated earlier, we did not have a lot of time to take a comprehensive look at the data and take comprehensive actions. However, the data did reveal some information regarding how many observations were completed by the district and the staff, and all those things that you just saw. And as far as the action steps were concerned, the IET members met after the first week of our observation. We met, we discussed what we saw, reviewed the data. We looked for any type of trends we could find, trends in data, both positive and any results that we might need to pay closer attention to. And we looked for areas that may contribute to misleading conclusions. For example, one question may actually say one thing, but once you really look at the data, is it saying the same thing? And so also administrators were contacted where necessary, and that was Mr. Williams was a part of that data discussion. So he was able to see everything that we did. We were able to divide the data up based on the number of observations that the IET members did at the district level, and also how the building administrators were coming along with theirs. I think another important component of looking at this data was that it just gives us a look into the future. Since we're going to have curriculum guides and we're going to be doing some monitoring, this gave us an opportunity to see what this might look like for full school year, as well as work out some kinks along the way of what might make this process easier for a complete school year. Any questions? Okay, finally, our curriculum guide updates for 2016-17. We have
selected all the consultants. We've chosen 4, and they've already started working on the guides. We have received the first drafts for the ELA and math guides for grades K through 8, and we will go through a revision process with the teachers that serve on the curriculum leadership team. Teachers have to be a part of this process. The revision process of the guides will take place during the weeks of June 20th through 30th with our teacher leadership team. And after that is completed, our goal is to provide professional development for all teachers on the guides during August 18th, 19th, and 22nd. So we're on target to do what we said we would do with the guides. Any questions? Well, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Dunn. Next item is some policy revisions. Looks like 29 policy revisions to consider. We'll let Mr. Williams explain
Yes,
each
sir.
of those to us.
Mr. Chairman, right. At our chairman's request, we'll be going through all 29 policy revisions submitted for board study with action to be taken at a subsequent meeting. The School Boards Association has sent us these revisions to be considered by you between now and our next meeting and voted on at that time if you so choose. Key updates include strengthening internal controls, adding information on repeating a course for credit, and additional examples of prohibited weapons. 11 policies are updated to comply with the Iran Divestment Act of 2015, which applies to procurements and contracts. We're submitting these for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Any questions on the policies? These are on for a first reading.
Do you have a committee that's going to study these or review these?
We do.
And is Ms. Waller going to review them as well?
If requested.
Well, the School Board Association's attorneys review them, but
We can come from the School Board Association.
we can send them if you like.
You're familiar with that agency?
Hell yeah.
Did you serve on their board? Okay. Any other questions about the policy revisions? All right, we'll move on to the financial report, Ms. Davis.
Good evening.
Evening.
The financial report reflects the year-to-date activity by providing the revenue and expenditure information as to all the sources of funds received and expended by fund and purpose as of May 31st, 2016. May I answer any questions?
Fund balance, how's it? That number?
I think this is going to be close to about where it's going to be at the end of June.
Into June. All right, any questions for Ms. Davis tonight? If not, we'll move into the action portion of our agenda, the budget amendment number 3, Ms. Davis.
Okay. This budget amendment increases state public school funds due to additional funding received in PRC 001, the classroom teachers, PRC 003, the non-instructional support, PRC 015, technology, PRC 016, the summer reading camps, PRC 056, transportation, and PRC 063, EC special funds. The other local funds are increased due to additional funds received in PRC 305, the Medicaid reimbursement, PRC 668, the STEM curriculum, and PRC 860, PEG channel reimbursement. May I answer any questions?
Were any of these unexpected, these changes, or these were all expected?
Yes, they were all mainly expected, yes.
Okay. So we don't get any extra money? Okay.
All right, do we have a motion to approve budget amendment number 3 as presented?
Move to approve budget amendment number 3 as presented.
All right, motion by Mr. Smith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. Any discussion on budget amendment number 3? call it for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. The budget amendment is approved.
Thank you.
Next item is the board meeting dates for next year. Mr. Williams.
We submitted for board approval are the recommended board meeting dates for the 2016-2017 school year.
That includes our next meeting, which will be
They
June
do,
the
and it
30th, so
looks-
that we can have our budget approved by the end of the month.
Looks pretty standard with what we had this year, very close.
Do we have a motion to approve the board meeting dates for next year?
Motion to approve the board meeting dates for 2016-17 as presented.
Motion by Mr. Hill. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. King. Any further discussion about the meeting dates? And all in favor, raise your right hand. The meeting dates are approved. Next item is some surplus property. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And
Attached.
Mr. Outlaw, I believe.
In your, and Mr. Outlaw is present tonight, in your packet, you have pictures of miscellaneous items from the maintenance department. If you look at it, it's heavy on the miscellaneous items there. Any funds generated from the salvage of these items will be put back in the capital outlay budget to help.
Maybe we get a little bit for some metal, right?
Mr. Outlaw's here if you, as you can see, many of the items are metal. Mr. Outlaw's here if you have any questions about those.
All right. Do we have a motion to have this property declared surplus?
Who we have this property sold as surplus?
Motion by Mr. Nobles. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion about the surplus property? All in favor, raise your right hand. Property is declared surplus, can be disposed of. Now we've got a couple of out-of-state field trips. Ms. Herring?
Yes, we have two requests this month. One is from Kinston High School for two students to attend the FBLA National Leadership Conference the end of this month in Atlanta. And there's also a recommendation from Continua Savannah School for April of next year, 2017, for 7th and 8th graders to attend Washington, D.C.
Do we have a motion to approve the out-of-state school field trips?
Motion to approve the out-of-state field trips as presented.
All right, motion by Mr. Hill. Do we have a second? Second. All right, second by Mr. King. Any discussion about the field trips? All in favor, raise your right hand. Field trips are approved. We'll now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that Lenore County Board of Education go to closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege and consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee.
Motion made to go into closed session. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, second by Mr. Smith. All in favor going into closed session, raise your right hand. All right, we are now in closed session. All righty. We're now back in open session. Hope we're on the record. First matters, we will entertain a motion to approve the personnel report as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the personnel report as amended.
Motion by Mr. Hill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. All in favor of approving the personnel report as amended, raise your right hand. It is approved. Next item is going to be the approval of the addendum to the personnel report.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recuse myself from voting on the addendum while it's listed on the addendum.
All right, Mr. Hill will recuse himself. Do we have a motion to approve the addendum?
Motion to approve the personnel report with the addendum. Approve the addendum.
Just the addendum.
Just the addendum.
All right, do we have a second? Mr. Smith's motion? Second by Mr. King. All in favor of approving the addendum to the personnel report, raise your right hand. All right, it is approved. Mr. Hill is recused from that vote. And we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Motion by Mr. Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor of adjournment, raise your right hand. We're now adjourned.
Let's go.